everyone. I just want to say thank you so very much. This is our very first really actual having people come and seeing an environmental problem that we are having within our state and also in Pennsylvania. Of course, it also is happening in Ohio and also in Kentucky, and then of course we have it also going on, the fracking problem, in Oklahoma and Texas, and New York. Thank you, Susan. I have to honestly say, I'm from Pennsylvania, and when I heard that our guests were coming from Western Pennsylvania, I'm from the Philadelphia area, and I'm saying, fracking? I never heard of fracking in Pennsylvania, I'm saying. And I got a quick education. And of course, the majority of that is happening in the western part, but our guest, Craig, will also tell us, he comes from eastern Pennsylvania, and that it is also happening in that area. One of the issues why we brought in the fracking problem is because some of that pipeline coming from Pennsylvania actually is going, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Weymouth station that they're trying to build, and that gas is also going through the Weymouth station, the crack gas from PA, Pennsylvania, and then their goal is to go up through the rest of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and then eventually to Canada. And therefore, it will be sold off the coast of Canada, which will eventually end up in Europe. But Craig will probably tell you a little more information about where some of that gas is going that's happening in Canada. I will tell you first, I'm Mary Alice Sharkey. I'm one of the members of Mothers Out Front. And Mothers Out Front is an environmental group. And we first came here to Winthrop through, thank goodness, our state senator, Joe Boncory, who had Mothers Out Front come to his office, do a presentation. He was so impressed by the presentation that he contacted some of us and said, hey, how about bringing in Mothers Out Front, having a community presentation. And again, I'll plead, I did it more so out of reverence to Joe Boncory, State Senator Joe Boncory. I've always been an environmental person, but not an active environmental person. So I went to the presentation, and I have to say, I was a teacher, and I went to many educational presentations. And the Mothers Out Front presentation was the best presentation I had ever been to. It was well thought out. Every answer was answered in a good, strong manner. And if they couldn't find the answer, which I don't even remember that they didn't, but just say they did, people told me that they got an immediate answer back within a few days. So anyway, I think that we, Mothers Out Front, one of our main goals, and if not the goal, is to mobilize to have a good climate for our children. That's really what our number one goal is. And everything that we do that's the pie in the sky, is that we want to encourage legislatures, governments, everything that anyone and everything that we can contact to let people know what we're about and what we would like to do, mostly for our children. And it comes out Mothers Out Front. And I know some of my own friends go, Mary Alice, Mothers Out Front. And it is because mothers started it. But it's not just about mothers. Mothers initialized it. And I think we all know that many times women are very powerful, and they got it going. But it's not just mothers, it's mothers and fathers and grandmoms and grandfathers, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters. It's all of us working as a unit to do what we can do. And our number one thing, and you'll hear the same thing from when I present to you the Friends of Belle Isle. One of their main statements is, we never give up. And that's what it's about. It's about never giving up. Discouraged? Absolutely. But never giving up is a reason of why we're all hopefully here tonight. And I have to tell you, I am so grateful to hear and see all of you, especially where we've got lousy weather coming and whatever. I will introduce some of our people here tonight, but I do have to let you know, we were supposed to have 5 guest speakers tonight. And what happened is that there was a miss of the plane. The plane from Pittsburgh, all right, had mechanical failure and did not happen. Craig was from Northeast, so he made it. So Pittsburgh people were not able to make it, so thank you. So anyway, so just to let you know, and we are having some mechanical difficulties also, but we'll get it all together and we'll
the connecting cord is in Pittsburgh.
Right. But that doesn't matter. The point being is we will give you all of the information that we have, and that we will bring everybody together again, and hopefully you will enjoy what we have to show you tonight and hear what we have to listen. I will introduce the people first, and just so, this is Cindy Loopy, and Cindy actually is a Winthrop resident. A lot of people aren't that familiar with Cindy as a Winthrop resident, but she is. And she's director of the Clean Water Action, all right? And Cindy, because of what her position is, she is in conjunction with many, many environmental organizations, and she's part of
The Green Justice
Coalition.
And the Mass Power Forward Coalition, which is also co-sponsoring this event.
And the Mass Power, we as Mothers Out Front are part of the Mass Forward Coalition. And Cindy has actually been part of the water action. She's been there for over 20 years. But something that's as impressive to me is that Cindy, in her younger days, not that she's not young, she's still young, actually was a volunteer for the Peace Corps. And that was one thing I wanted to do, and she actually was a Peace Corps volunteer in Africa. So, you know, when you hear somebody like that, you understand where they stand today. So, anyway, so Cindy will be doing, and we have also Karina, and Karina is a representative of the Friends of Belle Isle Marsh. Karina is also a Winthrop resident. She's lived here for many, many years. She has 3 daughters, and she's very active, and she believes in protecting the Belle Isle. And maybe in a minute, Karina could talk a little bit about things. I want to introduce, in the back of the room there is our guest, and his name is Craig Stevens. And Craig Stevens I sat with him at dinner for 1 hour. I learned more stuff from Craig in an hour than probably if I read a book. He has been all over our country. He has many connections with politicians and political leaders, and his job is to make sure everybody knows with what's going on in the United States and across our whole planet. So that's Craig Stevens, and you'll hear a lot from Craig tonight. And I want to acknowledge Kathy Young. Kathy Young in the back here is State Senator Joe Boncouri's personal secretary, and hopefully, he won't promise because he had 4 events tonight, but he will try to at least stick his head in if he gets, because he comes back to his own hometown. And I think that I've covered everyone. I want to acknowledge Barbara Bishop, who is going to be behind the camera tonight. Barbara is a member of Mothers Out Front and the Friends of Belle Isle, and she's a producer for WCAT, and besides being a very magnificent woman. So we have everybody. So Cindy, I'm going to let you take.
Okay, well, I'll be
Thank
really
you,
brief
everyone.
because our main speaker here is Craig, and can we give a quick round of applause? To come and represent the concerns and the health impacts, and to tell the story of the people who are living right in the belly of the beast, where there's so much concentrated fracking. We're deeply concerned about the health impacts from the water pollution, from the air pollution. We're deeply concerned about the injustice that these communities are experiencing because the gas industry has, pretty much, I want to say this well, taken over in many ways government functioning in their neck of the woods. So democracy as we know it is not functioning. The gas industry is really controlling a lot of these decisions about how or if fracking is allowed to continue to expand, what kinds of protections there are or aren't for residents and neighbors who live in the shadow of these fracking wells and infrastructure. So we're just very grateful to have Craig here tonight. We'll have another round from the 4 other folks who are so interested in meeting you all and sharing their stories as well. Our job tonight is really just to take in the information that Craig has and recommit here together to making sure that we reduce our dependence on this end of the pipeline to frack gas and really double down on clean energy and on energy efficiency so that we're not part of the problem that is destroying his neighborhood.
So I'm Karina Campobasso. I'm Vice President of Friends of Belle Isle Marsh, and I will be very, very brief. We're an environmental group that cares for the marsh, which is the largest, Barbara, saltwater marsh around this area. And I just wanted to say that on this Sunday, from 2 to 4, it's our annual meeting, and we have a wonderful guest. Harvey Leonard is going to come and speak, and we would love to have all of you come and maybe join. It's only $10 a year for a membership, and so we welcome you. Bargain. It's going to be at the Episcopal Church on that hall on Bowden Street. So please, you're all welcome to come. Thank you.
Suzanne, can you send me that information?
I will give you this.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And there are more of these out on the tables there, so please help yourself.
So without any further ado, we would like to give a warm welcome to Craig Stevens. And then we're going to have a question and answer period from the audience, and then we're going to end with a rousing, here's what we can do tomorrow to take action here in Massachusetts. So, great.
Evening, folks. How you doing? So they couldn't get out of Pittsburgh, but I got out of Northern Virginia, which is where I am now. So I'm going to take this off, and I wanted to wear it to show you guys. My dad spent 63 years as a first responder in the Civil Air Patrol. He was the longest serving member of the Civil Air Patrol consecutively in the history of the service. And what he did for 63 years was he's an emergency first responder. And as you know what a first responder does, I was explained by my father what a first responder is very young. I asked him, what is a first responder? He said, we run at problems when 99.9% of the world runs away from them, and they're almost always screaming while they're running. That was a good explanation. That was told me, I'm 58 this year. That was probably told me 50 years ago when I was 8 years old, and I can still remember it. I'm a 6th generation landowner. I bought what I didn't already inherit through my father of a 185-year-old family farm property in northeastern Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful little community called Silver Lake Township. It's in Susquehanna County. Susquehanna County is notorious to be the #1 production area on this planet for gas wells, highest producing in the world. Our area is called the Saudi Arabia of gas. We are the ground zero Marcellus Shale area. Why am I here tonight? Well, first of all, I've been to 13 state houses and met 9 governors face-to-face on this subject. I've also met the speakers of the House and the presidents of the Senate, many of those. And I don't lobby, I educate. I'm doing educational outreach. This is also a two-way conversation. Once I get through talking on a presentation, we want you to ask any question. I've been doing this for 8 years. My introduction was, I'm a California kid, 46-year native Californian. My dad got sick with cancer. He was given a year to live, so I uprooted my family, moved to Virginia, and I took care of my dad for the last year of his life. After he passed away, nobody in my family wanted to keep our family farmhouse that at that time had been in the family for over 175 years, so I went, I'll take it. So that was a journey that, I don't know, I never should have ended up in northeastern Pennsylvania, never should have found out what was going on with this. Then, by the way, there used to be 50 of us when I moved there that were concerned about what was happening, and we'd go and meet like this at events and learn. Now there's 5 of us, and all 5 of them are not from Pennsylvania. I'm a Californian. 3 of them from New Jersey. 1's from New York. In other words, we're transplants. But for some reason, we looked around to the 9-generation families in our neighborhood that were doing nothing about this. And I'm going to pass something around. That is the well water that comes out of the water well of my neighbors in Dimock, Pennsylvania, and not just one of them. On September 11, 2008, 33 people's private water well in the same neighborhood turned to that. I'm sorry, I'm going to get graphic. We call it carbonated diarrhea that smells like a dead skunk, and that's exactly what it is. It's sealed. Don't open it, but I'm going to pass it around. And when you shake it, see the swirling there? I call that Lucifer's lava lamp. This gas comes from 8,000 feet down. That is diesel fuel and antifreeze that gets into your water, along with other things. This water has been tested to have 4 types of uranium, barium, strontium, lithium, arsenic, 27 different chemicals in it that weren't in there before. I'm going to let you send that around visually. I'm going to tell you why I'm here to talk to you. Not that I didn't want to come to all you nice people in Boston. I always wanted to come to Boston to talk. My group is called Patriots from the Oil and Gas Shales, and I can't think of a better place to show up when we're talking Patriots. And Patriots doesn't have to mean the guys that died a long time ago. There's Patriots in this room. We can all wake up and find out what's going on and stand up for who? Our neighbors. Because my water didn't do that. My water stayed clear and started tasting like metal until 2013. And then I had 8 spontaneous nosebleeds. Very healthy. I played water polo and swam in high school. I'm still in great shape for 58. I can keep up with my 14, 15-year-old sons. But when blood started shooting out of my face for no valid reason except for my water tasted like metal, and I had to stop using that, that means my 4 children, who are supposed to be the 7th generation owners of my property, and my 2 grandchildren, the 8th generation, will never be able to live there because I will never expose them to what's going on. They can come there and visit, and we'll bring water in, but they're not going to be drinking the water from the well. So there's my grandson who's 15 months old. There's my granddaughter who's 9 years old. She's out in California. I'm showing these because that's why I'm here. I'm here standing up for the future generation of my family and your families because this is generational suicide. Sure. This is generational suicide, folks. I'm not just going to talk about fracking. We're talking about the whole process. How about the oil and gas drilling process?
Right.
Fracking is the last thing they do before the gas comes out. When they started doing this process in my area, and why we're talking about this is the Boston, this area in New England, is one of the largest sucking sounds of using the gas from not only our areas, but anywhere it can be brought to, and you're not making it here. That means all those people, there are 34 states in the United States that allow unconventional, horizontal hydrofracking. You know what they used to call it? Slick water. You know why they don't call it slick water? Because the slick is diesel and antifreeze, but they don't want to say that because then a 5-year-old can go, President Obama or President whoever, what does the slick water mean? Diesel and antifreeze. And that's their answer. They have to answer you what it is. So they just cut that out. You'll find the oil and gas industry, and I'm not anti-energy, I'm not. I mean, we have oil and gas and coal have brought it to this point. But I don't know, when NASA 70 years ago started putting solar panels on their spacecraft, and I don't think, who here thinks we're going to get to Mars on diesel fuel? Not gonna happen, right? So I'm a forward thinker. I call the oil and gas industry, they're buggy whip manufacturers in the age of SpaceX. They have no business even being in business right now. There's no reason. Drilling holes in the ground is 180-plus-year-old technology. It has served us well till now, but it's caused all kinds of problems. So, I wasn't a huge renewable energy believer. I lived in California, the sun came up every day, everything was fine. But I have become, because it's the only alternative. It's free. Once you put the collection system up, Earth provides what Gandhi said. I love Gandhi's quotes. Earth provides enough for every man's need, but not every man's greed. And that's all this is. Every bit of this is greed, greed, greed. I've never seen anything like it. I'm going to send this around too, and I'm sorry I didn't get it out earlier. I don't want to turn the back on you, but I'm going to send a couple things around. You'll recognize one of them easily. So when I go talk to politicians and I don't like it, I walk in with $200 million in fake bills. What's that for? And I go, my constitutional rights are not for sale. So my dad, that's why this is so beaten, my dad made my brother and sister and I carry the Constitution around, and he called it the rule book. Considering he had a lot of patriots from this area, and in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the guys wrote that document. It's tied into the whole area this is happening in. And who here wants to guess how many local, county, state, or federal elected officials that represent me as a tax-paying citizen in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, how many of them have come to visit their own constituents that have had these problems?
None.
Zero. You know what that's called? Plausible deniability, folks. They won't show up because once they see it, you have to do something. So you hide in Harrisburg or you hide in the U.S. Capitol. Almost nobody. We begged Bernie to come, we begged Tulsi Gabbard, anybody that would come and see what's going on. They spoke about it on TV, come and see it. Oh no, we can't do that. Because once you see this in person, and I highly recommend it. My other card, I'll send it around just so everyone can see it, and I'll give one to anybody that wants one. I took the 2 Tea Party flags. One is my card, which is called Patriots for the Oil and Gas Shales. So that's the Tea Party flag. I just reworded it. I'm a PR and marketing guy by trade. I've owned my own business for years. Boy, they don't like you using their. And this one, that's the flag that says "Come and take it" with the cannon on it and the Texas Star. I say, come and see it, come and drink it, come and breathe it. I have toured thousands of people over the last 8 years. Nobody important. At my home has been Mark Ruffalo, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Susan Sarandon, Sean Lennon, Yoko Ono, James Cromwell. Those are just the actors, the celebrities that came to find out what was going on because they all live in New York State. And they wanted to go, hey, they're thinking about bringing this here. Where do we go? Go where they're being drilled so you can find out what's really happening. I found that, who found that out a long time ago? This is show and tell. I'm here doing show and tell just like we had in kindergarten or first grade. And what we said was, hey, before you consider doing that, why don't you just show up in our neighborhood and we'll show you around. Because the industry will do a tour. It's nothing like our tour because they will tell you there's no problems. Then we have the citizens tour where you come and meet people. Meet 20 people that's water been wiped out, that have breathing difficulties, where they put a compressor station to push gas through the pipes. You guys have those here too. You know what those are belching out 24 hours a day? Formaldehyde, benzene, toluene, BTEX, benzene, toluene, xylene, ethylene. They're all pumping out of them by the hundreds of tons a year, and we're all breathing it in. Now you're in an area where the wind blows past you and it can go somewhere else, but where we live in the valleys, all that problem stays right there in the area. No wonder why when they put one in the backyard and then they fire it up, all of a sudden the nosebleed starts, the headaches, the rashes, the instant asthma. Just like that, kids start getting asthma. That'd be a rocket science just to figure out. You know, they tell us they want the science. Tell us the science. How do you know there's a problem? We tested your water. It's so bad we can't test our labs anymore. You know why? Before the industry came to Pennsylvania and the country, the labs would do testing for scientists and they do water testing, things like that. Now they're making millions of dollars a month because the companies have to do pre-drill testing to make sure that if water changes, they're not automatically liable. They can prove the water was bad before. Of course, most of the time the water's pristine and then it goes bad. So we don't trust the labs. We don't trust our Department of Environmental Protection. We call them don't expect protection. That's what we call them. And we don't expect protection. They seem to be working with the industry, which I don't know. When they get a paycheck every month for protecting us. I'm also going to send around, and I need you to know that the pipelines are not innocuous either. So this is a PowerPoint presentation that I was going to have on slides, but it's okay. This will get the point across. You can just rifle through it like that, and then pass it along. It's on both sides. And this is from a 16-inch gas line that was installed behind my house and then across my 115-acre property. I didn't want it there. But we have 5 family members that own a large property, and two of the 5 wanted it, and they own 2/3 of the property, so I couldn't stop it. But we certainly could slow it down, which is what I did. But when you go through it, in Virginia, they're putting in 2 42-inch pipelines. This was a 16-inch. You'll see when you look at it, I'm just going to show it to explain it. On July 29, 2011, while they were boring a 16-inch pipe underneath my pristine trout stream in my backyard, they blew a 10-foot diameter hole right out of the bottom of the stream, and it filled the entire stream full of mud. They call it drilling mud. You know what it is? It's bentonite clay, so they'll tell you it's the same as when you go to the health spa. No, it's not. Because to do that, anybody ever made a pot before in pottery class? Do you use just raw clay? No, you don't. You mix it with 2 things, either water or oil or both, so that it's smooth and it becomes pliable until you make it, and then you fire it and it dries it back down again. So that clay that they use, bentonite clay, they mix it with barium and diesel fuel. So anytime they're boring in a neighborhood, they're using barium and diesel fuel in it. 3 days later, they let them try again. They blew a 20-foot diameter hole. Then the hole became a 30-foot diameter hole. Then the hole became a 40-foot diameter hole. When it went to 50, they went, stop. And then they dammed the whole creek to get it through the rest of the way. So I'm going to send that around. We also, while they were doing that, they had a right-of-way on our property, on our big property. My forester was up there doing some tree work for me on my big 115-acre property. And he called me up and frantically said, the trucks drove up on the property. They didn't see me there. And this was 20 trucks full of 5,000 gallons of drilling waste mud. And they literally dumped it right onto my property, thinking nobody would know because my property's way up on a hill, and once you drive up the dirt road, nobody can see what you're doing. The reason I'm bringing that up is they had a right of way to install a pipeline. They didn't have a right of way to go dump 100,000 gallons of liquid of unknown origin all over my property. What scared me was this forester that I had was one of these tough forester guys that's been out for 45 years, and I swear to God, if he cut through a tree and actually chopped his leg off, he'd glue it back on and finish the day up, and then go on the way home, maybe stop by for some from Excedrin or a painkiller at the 7-Eleven. So he told me when the liquid got down to him, they couldn't see him, he's down in the bushes. That liquid came running down the hill, and as soon as it got near him, he couldn't even catch his breath. That's not water, folks. If you can't catch your breath when it comes near you, it's not water. He had to run from it to even be able to breathe. He left for the day from work, which he never does. And then he called me and said, I don't know what they're doing, but they dumped this. So I immediately called DEP, and they told me to get lost. So I called the Environmental Protection Agency, and they sent their emergency crew out about 3 days later to check it out. I'm only bringing this up because you guys are on the receiving end. Anybody hear the term blood diamond before? Blood diamonds, yeah, that's became very famous. When people are being harmed at the processing of something, then people don't want anything to do with it. So next time you flip a light switch on in your house, ask who's being harmed on the other end to get you that electricity. Is it a solar panel on your roof passively collecting sun and then turning it into energy for you? If it's not, you might want to consider it. Because there's one thing I know the industry doesn't want you to do, is cut that power line. Because that's the umbilical cord that they get trillions of dollars a year all over the United States and the world sent to them by people who are stuck with their product coming from them. They are drug pushers and we're the addicts. That's what it is. You know, I don't know if you guys have been an addict before or know them, but what you have to do is cut off the supply. Once you cut off the supply, you can decide you have a problem and you can be healed. So we are all causing this. Everybody in this room is causing it. We can limit the amount we use, but we also have to educate people that there are people that harm. The pat answer from the industry is, all of them, nationally, we've never harmed anything. There's no problem. Zero problems. Well, my dad raised us right. He said, never say never. Don't say we've never caused a problem, because then I only have to show one time that you've caused problems. Let me go to my next. I like to do real things you can look at and hold. This will interest you. That all stays together. Please don't separate it, but you can file through. So, the largest newspaper in northeastern Pennsylvania did a FOIA to our Department of Environmental Protection. They asked them one question. We'd like any document in your possession, DEP, that says your private water well has been contaminated by natural gas drilling in your area or any of those combination of words. And they said they don't exist. So they sued them, the paper did, and they won after 12 months. So the judge made them release it. Every one of those says your private water well has been found to be contaminated by natural gas drilling in your area. You'll see them highlighted when you, well, the black is redacted, right? But when you read this, we found 2,000 cases that the DEP had been hiding. Well, they were asked a question by the reporter that did it. Why isn't this on your website? We spend millions of dollars to set up a great DEP website. Why doesn't it have these cases on there? What was their answer? We didn't want to alarm the public. Get alarmed. Get alarmed. That's just in PA. We've only been drilling there for 14 years. And it started in southwestern PA where the people that were trying to get here, when they come, show up and bring everybody you know and get a much bigger room. Because they are going to tell stories that will make you cover your kids' ears. If they come, cover the children's ears because they're not going to want to hear about Brian Mechanic who's going to come. When he put his son, at the time was 5 years old, in the bathtub. And when he went in a half an hour later, he was playing in the tub and having fun. When he pulled him out, he had bleeding open sores all over his hips, his waist, and his legs. You know what they use in the process with this? Hydrochloric acid by the thousands of gallons. If that goes through into your water table, it doesn't take much hydrochloric acid in your bathtub to cause some real problems with your child's skin. What else do they use? Anybody here ever watched what they do or seen that? They drill a hole in the ground. It always starts with a vertical hole, and they dig it deep. And then the new technology is they figured out how to turn the drill bit sideways. And you know how far they're going now? Not 1,000 feet, 2, 3, 4. Who wants to guess how far they've gone?
2 miles?
3 miles, 15,000 feet sideways.
Oh my God.
3 miles away. You know how far they have to test your water from the hole? 3,000 feet. Can we go all the way to however far you're going and then add 3,000 feet to that, please? Because that would be more realistic. No, we can't. Why are we focusing here? That's the old school. We drill here. Anybody old enough to remember Beverly Hillbillies? Uncle Jed was shooting at some food and up from the ground came a bubbling crude. That's the old school. You poke a hole in the ground and oil or gas flows out. You know how long? 50 to 70 years it'll flow out. Slow and steady, just like any other business owner in this room would know. I like my business to grow slow and steady. If it goes too fast, I can go out of business because I can't keep up with my own growth. Why am I bringing that up? So this vertical hole costs $500,000 to do. It's the average. No water's really needed. They just drill a hole, put a casing in, and gas and oil flow up to the top. Anybody want to guess how much this costs to do? That's $5 to $7 million for one hole. That's 14 times more money. And when you do this, the first year, half of the gas that's available comes out, rushing out in the first 12 months. 50%. Every year after that, 10%, 10%, 10%. Ours are going dry in 5 or 6 years. Why is that important? Because they drill it, telling us it's going to last for 30 to 50 years. It lasts 5 or 6. Then they got to come and drill more and more and more. So, anybody here know that the price of gas is tied to what's called the Henry Hub price? When you look it up, or even on the stock exchange, it's tied to what's called the, that means it's trapped in North America. By trapping in North America, this giant glut that's happened, so think of this, we used to drill this way and it would come out slow and steady, now we drill this way and it comes flying out. There's a problem with that. The price went from $14 a thousand when I moved to northern Pennsylvania. 2 years later it was $2 a thousand. Anybody here in manufacturing? Because if you have a widget company and you make $1 million a year and you sell $1 million a year, and then the next year you just make $2 million, the price of widgets is going down fast because there's just too much supply and demand. Anybody here got these quote before that said, health is real wealth, not pieces of gold and silver? So I passed that money around because that's what this is. People in our area were we told they were become shalionaires. Not millionaires, shalionaires. You know, that worked out good. All my neighbors that were getting pretty big checks that had big farms, they were getting $10,000, $20,000 a month. and at the end of the year, it dropped down to half that, and then it went down, down, down. And you know what they did? After 6 years, they showed up at our county commissioner meeting and said, raised their hand, and the people, the county commissioners, these are the pro drill people, they sit up nice and straight. Yes, Ann Van Linton, who started Demick Proud because she said her neighbors were lying about problems. She said, I want to know what you're going to do about our royalty checks. They're in the toilet. Now these are the pro drill, love this, ignore all their neighbors' problems, call them liars, and guess why they're there? Because she got a bill, not a check. So how do you get a bill? Well, when you sign up, you're a percentage partner in the minerals that are underneath your property. So how'd you like to be all jacked and then you get the bill, or you get a check every month and it starts going down and down and down, and then you get a bill. So the driller, when they called, said, read your contract. We're partners. We lost money last month, so this is your portion of that loss. You don't have to give us any money. We'll just take it out of your next positive check. And they said, these are farmers, but they're not dumb farmers. They go, that means I'm still paying for it. I just have to pay you today. Because you know what happened if they try to make them pay them a negative balance out of the money they already got? They would probably get out attitude adjustment tools and find out where the CEO of the company lives. That's what they would do. Because these are all people that are in it for the money. My neighbor made a movie called Truthland in a response to Gasland, the first Josh Fox movie that most of the people have seen. It's been on HBO, Gasland 2. That's where Josh came first, was Dimick, Pennsylvania. That's where you see him. The first interviews in that movie are Dimick, Pennsylvania. It was a disaster, and he could not believe what he was seeing. He dragged Mark Ruffalo and Bobby Kennedy Jr. over. I'll tell you why. Because they were pro-gas, because they hated coal. They wanted to get coal gone, so this is a bridge fuel. When they build a pipeline that costs $5 billion, you know what the lifespan of that pipeline is? Minimum 40 years more. That's not a bridge fuel. In 40 years, my kids are going to be my age. And my older kids will be, a lot older than that. So you're thinking, that's not a bridge fuel, that's a trap. We're on like a hamster wheel and we're not getting off. Hamster wheels are fun unless it's screened off on both sides and you can't get out. They're just throwing some food through you, try to eat while you stay on the hamster wheel and keep it going. So the analogy is, we're trapped. We either have to cut off the addiction and refuse it. The oil and gas industry does not want you to do one thing, the power companies. So I put some solar panels up, put a power wall or two on my wall, and I say, later. And they go, oh, you can't do that. We'll be out of business. Yeah. Either get into business or go out of business. That's the way it is. And so that's our power. Our power is make our own. Who doesn't want to do that? A lot of people like to make their own food, cook their own food at home, make their own bread. Why? It's the thing we all like to do now, is make our own. Make it right here. Show the kids how to do it. The old school stuff. We're going to make our food right here. We don't buy it at the store. Although we might have to get a few ingredients there. So my kids are interested. By the way, anybody here have any kids under 20 years old? I have two under 20. They've never seen, my house has never had a phone since they've been born that had a wire attached to it. Everything that my kids do is wireless. They print wireless, they call wireless, they even have, my son has wireless headphones, no wire, and they're fantastic. I couldn't believe the quality of these things. You put them on and you can hear perfectly. There's no wire to wrap around things and break. So we're going wireless. And what do they want to do? Hook pipes and wires to us for the rest of our lives. I go, when you have pipes and wires hooked to you, you're usually in a hospital bed at the end of your life, or you just had a severe accident. So my goal is education. We have the power to change this. Large cities and large areas like New York City and the Boston metro area have the power to go, you know what? And here's how you talk to politicians. Hey, it's $3 a thousand now. What happens when we start exporting it, like the Cove Point export terminal that's getting ready to do its first shipload of export? Anybody here study geography in school? Yeah, so let me ask you a question. Cove Point, Maryland is right near DC. And they're going to fill these tankers, by the way, largest ships on this planet, the LNG tankers. They're huge. And then they're going to fill it up, they're going to go out the Chesapeake Bay, down the Atlantic, around Florida, through the Panama Canal, which, by the way, 8 years ago they started widening for these ships, so they knew what they were going to be doing 8 or 10 years ago. Through the Panama Canal, and you know who's got the contracts? Japan and India. Can you find a further away geographically placed than Cove Point, Maryland from India and Japan. No, but they're gonna transport it because, you know, you got a contract with them. So how much energy they use it just to take that gas? And if you don't know, liquefied, you can pressurize gas and it becomes compressed natural gas, CNG. You can liquefy it, and then when you liquefy it, you're shrinking it down 600 times smaller, and you have to make it go minus 259 degrees. So at Cove Point, they had to put a 135 megawatt power plant in the facility just to shrink the gas down. Not for the neighbors, that power plant is not for, it's to shrink the gas down. One of those ships, if it accidentally or on purpose goes bang, or some bad guy gets a hold of it, look up lngdanger.com. lngdanger.com. That's a husband and wife lawyer couple in Southern California when they tried to put an import terminal in Malibu. Arnold Schwarzenegger got mad, and so did Martin Sheen. So they got this couple, and they researched the whole thing, and they scared off the person who wanted to put in Malibu. And they were so good that they were asked to come to 15 different countries, and they scared off the terminals there too. Why? Because one tanker goes bang, that's 55 Hiroshimas of energy in one tanker. It would flatten this whole area if it was off the coast. It would just flatten a mile or two, and it would, windows go on, everything. So they don't tell you that part. What happens when it goes bang? Anybody here have a compressor station near their house pushing gas through a pipe? We have 52. We have 52 of them in our community alone. And they belch out the bad things, formaldehyde, benzene, toluene, xylene. So we're limited time here, so I'm going to do a couple things. I'm leaving 2 copies of this with the good folks here. That has 15 different interviews. I'm in it too. And that's interviews Colorado, Pennsylvania, Texas, other areas. But it also shows Dr. Mark Jacobson, who does the Solutions Project, to move towards 100% renewable energy. I'm going to leave it because this is how we won Florida. I've been to 13 state houses and met 9 governors face-to-face on this subject. And I'm a layperson. I have a high school diploma and 2 years of junior college and no degree. But I know I'm this smart. If I take my water from my water well and put it in my freezer and leave it in there over 2 days and it's still liquid when I pull it out, I don't have to be Bill Nye the Science Guy to figure out, Houston, you've got a problem. So you will hear the industry say people like me that go out are lying to you. And I just passed the paperwork around to show you our own state found those things out. I mean, I have so many documents. I carry a briefcase full, a huge, like, rolling cart full when I go in, because when I go in and talk to a conservative or Republican, usually I'm a liar. But then I pull these out and I win them over because I go, it's not me. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about all this. So I'm available for questions. I'll give a card to anybody that wants it. And this is the little acorn that grows into the oak right here. Some of you are going to go, huh? We didn't know anything about that. We didn't know when we turn on our light switch or people are being poisoned in Pennsylvania or some other place to get that gas here to make our energy. And I'm trying to just put that seed in your mind that maybe if you have kids or grandkids or you have parents or brothers and sisters, we might want to consider a way to do it without poisoning our family and all over the world. By the way, they ask us if we can drill in the United States. Everywhere else in the world, they tell you they're going to drill. And most of those people own no mineral rights, so they don't get any money. So, number one, this is a great crowd to show up on an evening where there might have been really severe weather. So, thank you for that. And number two is, I'll close it with Martin Luther King. I love his quotes too. We learned that our friends were sometimes our worst enemy in our area. We thought they were our friends, but we ended up not being able to reach the knife that was in our back after the money started flowing. So Martin Luther King very famously said, we fear not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And in our area, the silence is deafening. And so now we're having to sue our own. We sent a $40 million notice of claim to our governor, and we filed a sealed criminal complaint against our entire elected officials from governor on down, quoting our own law in Pennsylvania that we have a right to clean air and pure water. It's a civil right in their constitution, and we're tired of it. So we want you guys to shut it down here and move to the right direction before these guys get their meat hooks into you, and then you have to fight somebody because they're being motivated by money, and I'm being motivated by caring about people. So thank you, everybody, for the attention.
We're going to open up now for question and answer. And we're probably, I think if you're anything like me, you have a lot of questions. So we can have a good conversation here. And then at the end, we're going to wrap up with a solidarity message, committing support to our friends on the other end of this pipeline that's coming our way, and working on what we can do here in Massachusetts to reduce our demand for frack gas. So let's give a huge thank you and Greg the Mighty, who made it here when all other planes couldn't, and open it up for questions. I think in the back row, you had your hand up first.
Just a quick one. Did you hear that the coal mining museum has solar panels? In Kentucky, I think.
I'll even flip that on you. When we talked about solar, the industry told us, they laughed and said, solar doesn't work. Every well pad is so far away from power that instead of spending $50,000 to run a power line there, because they have to transmit their information, there are 6 huge solar panels at every one. So I go, hey, looks like it's working pretty good over there. These guys are, most of them are invested in the alternative source of energy, but they will not say it, and they will do it under another corporate name because they don't want to show people, because we can all go do it if they can do it.
Okay. I think just to keep the conversation going, we're going to start in the back and keep going to the front. So Suzanne, I think you had a question. We're going to ask people to stand up when you say your question so it's easier for everybody to hear.
Craig, thank you. One comment from a friend in Massachusetts. When I go to the State House to testify, I tell them that I feel like I'm a potentially responsible party, just like at a Superfund site, because I am using fracked gas. And I feel so guilty because I have gas in my house, and I just want to tell you I'm doing what I can to shut it down. So,
and remember that.
Thank
they
you.
want us to be, thank you, they want to hold us responsible. I'm not drilling the holes, and I'm not the one that set up this system of power, but we can be the generation, no matter how old you are, from a newborn today to somebody that's 7 years old. The Florida people that used this movie, not mine, I didn't make it, but I'm in it. We used this in Florida, and in 2 years they got 39 counties to ban fracking and 52 cities. 80% of the 20 million people in Florida that live in a community that's banned fracking. The state hasn't done it, but the county said. Then the state last year 2 years ago tried to tell them, we're going to pass a law where you can't ban it. The state decides. And you know the two counties that said you're not? Broward and Miami-Dade. That holds 1/3 of the population of Florida. They said try it, and we will sue you guys so fast, so they dropped that whole law. So hanging together, we must all hang together or we will surely hang separately, as Ben Franklin said.
Next questions? Okay.
I was just wondering what your
That's
thoughts.
just enough.
Oh, sorry. I was just wondering what your thoughts would be on the potential impact to your area if they do complete the Access Northeast pipeline, which would increase the yield for transportation to Canada by 300-something million cubic feet a day.
Yes.
I imagine it would be pretty bad, but.
Well, here's our estimate. We have one called the CPV power plant. It's in Orange County, New York. That's one you see sometimes on the internet where James Cromwell, he lives right there in the black dirt region. There's no place on earth that has the black dirt like that. It's some of the most mineral-rich dirt where the food grows tremendously. Just that one plant will add 150 gas wells per year drilling in our area, and we're the closest area to drill. That one plant, but all this infrastructure build-out just means they want to drill more and more. And on my end, we're going to stop the drilling because we're going to prove it's poisoning people. And in America, I don't know about you guys, but we're not a third world extraction colony. At least I didn't think we were. But they're acting like one. So we have to take back our power. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. Really funny. I go to your Riverkeepers Ball every year. I'm invited. It's a $1,000 plate fundraiser. It's on the Hudson River in Chelsea Piers, whoop, and I'm talking, you know, last year, 2 years ago was Leonardo DiCaprio was the man of the year, whatever. And we're sitting at tables afterwards, and they know I'm a pretty bright conservative, constitutional conservative guy. And so that one year Bobby Kennedy said to me, I can't believe we're all sitting here with Glenn Close and Yoko and all these people. We're sitting here with a constitutional conservative trying to figure out how to save the planet. And I said, I can't believe I'm sitting here with people whose cars can only turn left. And they started laughing. And I said, here's how we'll do this. We're going to fight to save the planet that we all live on, share the air and water. And when we win, and we go renewable, and we clean up the air, we can all have another party, and we'll argue sex, politics, and religion another time, because I don't have any time for that. I'm saving lives by doing this, so that goes on the back burner as far as I'm concerned. We're all together in this. We all breathe the same air and water. Let's work together. We can argue the other differences later.
Thank you for bringing this direct experience to us and helping make it more visible. I think it's so important. For the experience here in Massachusetts where we don't frack, what have you learned so far in these campaigns to really push this message over, you know, in our consuming end?
Sure.
You know, we talk with our legislators and we try to talk with our governor to really push the case, and it's been a struggle.
Here's what I will tell you what worked in Florida. The first year I went was 2014 legislative session as an educational outreach person. I wasn't trying to lobby or anything. They didn't have any bills then. They didn't even know what fracking was. The first meeting I had was by the way, I set up all my own meetings. I just went 3 weeks ago and set up 60 meetings in 5 days, 12 a day, with the highest level people you can meet, because they know who I am now. But I'll tell you, the first meeting I had, there was the President of the Senate. He sat down, gave me 30 minutes face to face. I brought in another young lady that was from Physicians for Social Responsibility. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you how to do it. So if you want to do it another way, that's fine, but I got Florida to where this year, a ban bill in the House and the Senate written by Republicans and co-sponsored by Democrats and Republicans, almost 50-50. Unheard of. That scared the industry bad. When I went in, he listened to what I was saying because I was a first-hand experience, had a pipeline on my property, all these things. So if you can't come in with first-hand experience, come with first-hand stories. I'm telling you, this film is really good, even if you find the section you like to show them. It really works. But the young lady I brought with me that was showing me around the first time I was in Tallahassee was from PSR, and 25 minutes into this meeting, the senator stood up and said, I'm sorry, young lady, who are you, where are you from, and what are you here for? And she said, I'm with Physicians for Social Responsibility. I wanted to come here and talk to you about climate change and global warming. And he threw us out of the office. Here's why I'm telling you that. I equate this, after 8 years of doing this, banging my head, because I love the global warming and climate change stuff. I mean, I know Bill McKibben personally and all the leaders in the world of it. But I equate it to this. A Hasidic Jew and a born-again Christian sit down for lunch. And in an hour, they try to convert each other to the religion. It's not happening. You can't do it. If you're going to talk to somebody about something that's a long-term plan, you got to take a long time to do it. So when you want to do this, why don't we go in and talk about the problems associated with and show them examples? That's all you have to do. And then they're going to ask, what's the solution? Well, if we keep the pipes and the wires, we're going to keep paying more and more and more every year. In my area, in Northern Virginia, the power just went out for 4 days. And these are multi-million-dollar homes. People lost all their food, fish tanks, aquariums went off, all $1,000 worth of fish dead, in a really near DC. I mean, come on. They can't guarantee to provide us because a storm comes through. So wait, you've been in business giving power to people for 120 years. You can't figure out how to keep it going when a storm comes through and wind? That doesn't happen when you make your own power right at your house. There's the explanation, and I'll leave it another one. Truck drivers never fell for it. They never switched to gas, to CNG. You know why? First question you ask as a businessman, hey, is the price going to go up? Yeah, of course it's going to go up. Well, as soon as it goes up, it doesn't make sense to spend the money to switch the vehicle over. So they said, forget it. So there's the other problem. The price is always going to go up with theirs, but if you put wind or solar on your property, the price drops because every year, amortized, you just pay less and less until you pay nothing. So that would be the answer to that is, I have a way to do it. I will come and do it with you. I'll go to the State House. How we do it is we introduce them. When you first date with somebody, you don't ask them to marry you. You have to court them a little bit and figure it out. That's the way it works. That's how the world works. So we have to introduce it, show them the harms, and show them the answer. They can figure it out, and if they don't, I shove them off into the people that can't figure it out. And then I find the ones that get on our side, and we get them motivated. That's how I would do it.
Next question.
Yeah, about once a month I get one of those things in the mail saying, choose clean energy for your electricity.
Sure.
And the power company will have to buy it from them. Is that for real? Should I go ahead and do that?
It is for real. So here's what's happening now in the industry. You used to have to drop $40,000 to put solar panels on your house. You know what you do now? The company comes and basically leases or lets you buy it over 10, 20 years, put it on your roof, you get the first part of the power, anything excess goes as a credit, and at night, if you don't have a battery system, so anything you can do, that's a good start to move forward. Sign up and let them start doing that. If everybody did that, they'd have to start doing more and more and more until they're in the business. That's why they have those alternative power source set up, because they've got to meet that requirement. It's a requirement in those states now. Let's just drive them all to it, just keep signing up.
Let's also I'd love to hear from Karina as well, because she is leading a lot of the solar work here locally about we get some great offers from companies who are really vested in clean energy, and we also get some greenwashers who are trying to cloak themselves in a green kind of a coat, but on the inside they're still fossil fuel based. So
yeah, well, I thought this was a good moment to make another pitch, and that is for right now. Winthrop is offering a Solarize program. And I know a lot of people here aren't from Winthrop, but for those of you who live in Winthrop, if you are interested in putting solar panels on your roof, now is the time. There's a great deal. We've got a group rate. This is through the town's energy committee, of which I am a member. And if anyone here is interested, I didn't think to bring flyers tonight, but if you come to me afterwards and give me your name, I will personally deliver the flyer to you or connect you with the company through email. So that's for, right now the Solarize program is just being run in Winthrop. Other communities for people who live elsewhere, you could lobby your town to get a Solarize program in.
I can clarify a little about that. My name is Ann Wright. I'm from Arlington, where we have a community choice aggregation program. We got to pass through our town meeting. So you could do that if you're from a town that might pass it. And we get extra percentage of renewables for the same price. And in fact, ours is actually lower than the more fossil fuel Eversource price because renewables price is going down, down, down. But then if your town doesn't have that, this is the other thing. A lot of those flyers, and we get them too, somehow they know that there's competition. They're just, barraging us with offers. The difference you want to look at is where that energy comes from. If it's wind power or solar from like Texas, it's not putting extra money into your town or into New England power. And that doesn't do us much good. That doesn't give us money to generate new infrastructure. That's what we need, is new local infrastructure where we get the jobs and it has to travel less far. I don't know all the names, but the good local offering is from Mass Energy. So if you go to massenergy.org, it's the oil and consumer co-op based in Jamaica Plain.
yeah, we've had Eugenia Gibbons come and speak at some of the Mothers Out Front meeting locally.
Right.
So we
So
can
you
definitely
can go to that and
Mothers
do
Out
it
Front can
online
help
and switch
focus
your
any
personal
questions.
electricity. If you don't have enough money to get solar panels or whatever on your own house, you can get the energy through massenergy.org.
Okay.
Can I say one other thing? The Energy Committee is going to be pushing a community choice aggregation program too, where we have to get it past the town council. So talk to your town councilors and say we want community choice aggregation.
And I just also want to flag that Mothers Out Front in Winthrop continues to meet monthly and continues to organize local support around our local officials to press these kinds of things forward. So please, continue to stay, Winthrop folks, continue to stay in touch.
Do you have any ideas about how to finesse this whole thing if you're renting?
Yes, that might be something that,
I can answer.
would you like to, let me also just
It's
say
actually the
that-
same answer that Ann just gave.
that's what it is. Mass Energy.
Sign up with Mass Energy and for the Green Up program, and you can these are all paper transactions. The electrons go into your refrigerator or the safe.